show you how great I am.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I am the king of the world.
G5 Jeff TV, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, please share this video, support your boy, support good content at all times. All social media is in the description box, and please hit that bell icon so you can be notified when I drop that heat. This video is sponsored by my boy Matt. Definitely check his apparel out on IG at WeAllFrom, WeAllFrom. And this video is also sponsored by my boy Fast Classic, one of my personal favorites. His mixtape is in the description box. It's free of charge, so there's no reason for you not to download it. Definitely give him a download. Definitely give him a listen. Now, let's get down to it. Tony Harrison is the new WBC 154-pound champion of the world. Now, I know I've been dropping a lot of videos about Tony Harrison and Jermell Charlo, but I can't help it. It's a hot topic, and we got to talk about it. Now, Tony Harrison won a unanimous decision. It was highly controversial. A lot of people felt like Jermell Charlo clearly won the fight. A lot of people felt like Tony Harrison didn't do enough to take it from the champion, and that's a cliche that a lot of people use. But controversy is not a bad thing at the end of the day. Bottom line is, Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison, they're going to have a rematch at some point. This fight was too controversial and too close for it not to be a rematch. And I don't think Jermell Charlo will have it any other way. So, this video is dedicated to the top 5 things that Tony Harrison has to do to win a rematch versus Jermell Charlo. Number 1, Tony Harrison has to forget the first fight. Now, this is the same number 1 as the other video I did for the top 5 that Jermell Charlo has to do to defeat Tony Harrison. It's the same number 1. Tony Harrison has to forget the first fight. The reason why is because if Tony Harrison thinks that he's going to be able to walk in and just win a fight with the jab and then pot shot with the jab and snap Jermell Charlo head back from time to time and thinks he's just going to get a victory that way, it's not going to happen. You combine that with the adjustments that Jermell Charlo would make, and Tony Harrison would be in trouble if he think he can just repeat what he did in the first fight. So Tony Harrison has to forget the first fight, just like Jermell Charlo. Number 2, Tony Harrison has to add more 2-3 punch combinations. A lot of times, Tony Harrison was doing a great job of pot shotting. He was doing a lot of punches in between Jermell Charlo's guard. Jermell Charlo wasn't throwing wide shots, but he was opening up his guard before he started throwing, and then Tony Harrison was just throwing a really fast jab right straight up the pipe and snapping Jermell Charlo's head back. A lot of times what Jermell Charlo was doing, it would stop him in his tracks, but then he would immediately restart. What Tony Harrison has to do is he has to add a second and third punch to that. He can be more effective and actually possibly hurt Jermell Charlo, because he was throwing one shot, snapping his head back, and was looking to see if he was hurt. And Jermell Charlo he wasn't getting hurt by the majority of those shots. Especially that right hand. Like, Tony Harrison need to let go of that right hand as a part of that 2-3 punch combination, because he got a lethal right hand, and I don't even think he really showcased that in the first fight. Now, the third thing that Tony Harrison has to do, he has to continue to throw the jab. He can't abandon the jab, because if he abandons the jab, he's going to lose the fight. Tony Harrison has one of the best jabs in the game. Point blank, period. He throws it down the bottom, throws it up top, throws it to the chest, throws it to the shoulders. Tony Harrison does a great job with his jab in terms of controlling distance and controlling his opponent. Tony Harrison, that's the base of his offense. He needs to expand on the base of his offense in the rematch, but the base of his offense is that jab, is that left jab, and he throws it to start off his offense, and he throws that jab to stop an attack. Tony Harrison needs to continue to do that. Number 4, Tony Harrison is going to have to choose his spots to really dig down and go fight. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When I watched the first fight live, I was texting back and forth with my buddy, The Blunt Truth, and I told him, I said, listen, Tony Harrison did a great job in boxing, but somebody forgot to tell him to fight. Tony Harrison's not going to be able to get away with that in the rematch, just be in cruise control the entire fight. Jab, subtle movements here and there, and just be in cruise control the entire fight. There's going to have to be times in this fight where Tony Harrison's going to have to turn up. And he's going to have to throw combinations, and he has to fight Jermell Charlo. I don't think he's going to just be able to do what he did in the first fight and just win a pure boxing match and be in cruise control. I don't think that's going to happen. So Tony Harrison needs to choose his spots and dig down and actually fight Jermell Charlo. And he'll probably get the better of Jermell Charlo if he sets his punches up right. And the 5th thing that Tony Harrison needs to do is to make Jermell Charlo reset. And what I mean by that is, when Tony Harrison, if he does what I'm thinking is important, is throw 2-3 punch combinations, it's going to be very important for him to turn Jermell Charlo, to turn him and make Jermell Charlo reset. And it also gives Tony Harrison an opportunity to get back to his base defense and his base stance. That is extremely important. The reason why Tony Harrison was really only throwing one shot at a time against Jermell Charlo is he was, number 1, he was looking for the return fire. Number 2, I think he was trying to conserve energy in the first half of that fight. And I think that's the reason why he really didn't turn up the entire fight. And if he does those things, then Tony Harrison gives himself a great shot to win a rematch against Jermell Charlo. But let's be clear. The way Tony Harrison won the title against Jermell Charlo was not traditionally the way a fighter wins a decision against a champion. Now, we all know that we score fights round by round. 10-point must system. The winner of the round gets a 10. The loser of the round gets a 9 unless it's a knockdown or a point is taken away for a penalty. Then it becomes a 10-8 round. We have this thing as fans, we say, well, the challenger didn't do enough to take it from the champion. Yes, you can have that mindset, but you have to apply that in each round of the fight. You can't wait to the end of the fight and that's your go-to phrase in terms of how you felt about the fight. A lot of people don't have scorecards, but they'll say, oh, well, Tony Harrison didn't do enough to take it from the champion. You can't use that as your reason for Jermell Charlo winning the fight. You can't use that as your reason for Tony Harrison losing the first fight or any fight. You can't judge any fight by just any championship fight by just saying, I don't think the challenger took it from the champion. That's nowhere in the 10-point must system. That's nowhere in the criteria. Yes, we would like to see our challengers take it from the champion, but at the same time, when you're dealing with high-level competition, you have close rounds. When you're dealing with 2 great athletes or 2 good teams, or 2 great players, it's going to be back and forth. And a lot of times these rounds is going to be very close or very even. So you can't your final decision can't be, oh, well, the challenger didn't take it from the champion, so I'm giving this round to the champion. No, like there's criteria in terms of how you judge a round. And that criteria has nothing to do with a challenger, quote unquote, taking it from a champion. So with all that being said, Tony Harrison is going to have to make adjustments just like Jermell Charlo is going to have to make adjustments in the rematch. Tony Harrison is going to have to take more risk to retain this title than Jermell Charlo is going to have to do to regain his title. Now, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. G5 Jeff TV, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please share this video, support your boy. Support good content at all times. I appreciate y'all. Peace.